to make the audio good enough when I do the show from home instead of doing it from the WNFL studio. Doug's got a million things moving back in Milwaukee, so work with us here. But if you weren't with us the first couple minutes, we had to take an early break to reconnect. But big day at Lambeau today. Jordan Love back at practice. They're still holding it close to the vest what they're going to do with the quarterbacks this week. Jordan Love said he's going to give himself the week, but that he's hopeful to play Sunday against the Titans. He was limited in practice, which was the exact answer Matt LaFleur gave 4 times in response to questions about Jordan Love's, level of activity in practice. And clearly Jordan Love was coached to say the same thing because he was asked about what he did in practice, and he said, I was limited. I'm just going to keep it at that. So Malik Willis also preparing as if he's going to start, and he would do that any week, so I don't think that's too telling. But Packers really playing the guessing game, and it's working because Brian Callahan, the Titans head coach, said that they're preparing for both Jordan Love and Malik Willis to play. Right, of course. And I think that's obviously the way you have to play it. All the fantasy football experts and reporters want to know who's going to play, but that's just not how it works. And I swear to God, I'm going to vent about something really quickly. The 2 worst people in NFL Twitter, and I want this clipped and put out there. I need to get this word out. The 2 worst kinds of people in NFL Twitter are the aggregators, like the Dove Klymans and the ML footballs and the JPA footballs, and the Twitter doctors. Oh my goodness. The Twitter doctors who are like portray themselves as actual doctors. And I don't know, maybe they are actual doctors in some field, but the people who have their name and then MD in their title, and they try and diagnose down to the T these injuries and return videos that we tweet out. It's nauseating. Like, I think Bill Huber tweeted out a video today, and this Twitter doctor who claims to be an actual doctor responds, "Based on range of motion and movement, he's not 100% ready. It's a this and that and this and that, and this would put it at an XX percentage of playing this weekend." Just like, there were Twitter doctors after Jordan Love suffered his initial injury saying, "Oh, by the looks of this video, this was a high ankle sprain. It was
Right.
definitely an ankle injury. He'll be out 4 to 6 weeks. This is the official word from the Twitter Doctor Association of ass clownery." Like, get the hell out of here. Come on.
Yeah, right after the injury happened, there were so many amateur orthopedists that decided that they were going to have their thoughts heard. I've always said the best thing about social media is that everybody gets their voice, but the worst thing about social media is that everybody gets their voice and everybody seems to think that they're an expert. If you're an orthopedic surgeon, okay, I might maybe, even though you haven't diagnosed him or examined him, maybe that carries out just a tiny bit of weight than somebody who has, I saw his knee buckle, he's going to be out. Come on. We were doing it the same thing to Giannis in the playoffs against the Hawks 4 years ago. I mean, that's a torn ACL. He's going to be out for the entire year and all of next season. Oh, you're right. It's nothing drives me more crazy than people who don't know what the hell they're talking about, trying to just put their opinion out there because they think they saw something on tape. When they have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, it's infuriating. I mean, it doesn't really matter because they're the ones making a fool out of themselves and not me, which is that's what I strive for every day, Doug. I strive not to make a fool out of myself, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Today's been a
Um,
challenge for me.
One
So
thing I did take away, whether it's true or not, he said it from today's availability was Malik Willis's response when I asked him about facing the Titans, and I think we have some audio from Malik Willis that we can play. Hopefully, it goes out over the stream. And
I
I basically asked Malik Willis, and I know people on Twitter have said, "Oh, you're just trying to pigeonhole him into a response, get a response." I don't care what response he says. Sure, there are responses that would, blow up more or do better, but in this instance, the video I tweeted of him giving the politically correct response has over 1 million views. So it doesn't matter if he lights the Titans on fire or takes the route he did. I basically just asked, because Malik Willis said on Sunday that he's not a guy who carries a chip on his shoulder, does he really not want to, quote unquote, prove the Titans wrong if he starts on Sunday? And here's what he said. Yeah, that's a pretty impressive response, I would say, and people seem to be, enjoying that. Now, if that's how he actually feels, then who knows? Um, Malik Willis has handled the media impressively. By all accounts, he's a nice guy. Can he play football? Is the only thing that matters on the field, really. And we saw last Sunday he can, at least to the extent that the Packers need him to. Now, um, if they need him to play on Sunday, I don't know if him being familiar with the Titans defense is gonna help. He said today that it's been only 2 games. Shane Bowen, who I believe was the Titans' uh, defensive coordinator last year, if I'm not mistaken. He's with the Giants. I wanna make sure I get that right. Yeah, he's the defensive coordinator for, the Giants, and he was the Titans DC from 2021 to 2023. Yeah, he was just their defensive head coach and Mike Vrabel. So it's not necessarily the same defense. There are obviously different personnel than when Malik Willis first started in Tennessee. So this current iteration of the defense, he doesn't have too much familiarity with, but he's saying he's gonna be prepared for it regardless, and I'm sure Jordan Love will too. Malik Willis did say today that he wouldn't be surprised, and I'm pretty sure he was referring to, if Jordan Love was gonna play. He said Jordan Love looks a lot better, um, now, and obviously Jordan Love backed that up by saying he feels a lot better now. He said when he first suffered the injury, because this is the first time we've talked to Jordan Love since, he suffered that injury week 1 against the Eagles. He said he feels a lot better. He said when he first got hurt, it was the worst pain he's ever been in. He didn't know what an ACL felt like. He knows what a torn meniscus felt like because he tore his meniscus, as I said, when he was at Utah State, but he didn't know what a torn ACL felt like. He didn't outright say he thought he tore his ACL, but he said it was scary because he didn't know what happened to him, how long he would be out, and it wasn't the most comfortable plane ride 10 hours back to Green Bay, although he said it did help that they had the full body layout seats on that big plane they took, to try and ease some of the discomfort. But now Jordan Love, I don't wanna say he feels great, but he feels better, and, I'm interested to know, and I don't think they would say this outright, if there's a percentage of health they need to get to with Jordan Love before he plays. I doubt it's 100%. I don't think the full skill set is gonna be at 100% because Jordan Love said himself today that his mobility is not all there with a metal brace around his left knee, but they're gonna do what they can, and if Jordan Love's ready to play, he's gonna play. They're not gonna say, "Oh, we won with Malik Willis last week, so we can, buy some more time for Jordan Love." If Jordan Love's ready to play, he's gonna play.
Yeah, and I think that that's proper. I think that if I mean, he's your starting quarterback for a reason. It gives you the best chance to win. It was a great game plan, as we've talked about, that Matt LaFleur devised for Malik Willis. But still, you need your starting quarterback to be your starting quarterback, and if he's got that opportunity to do that, he should.
You okay, Doug? Are you having a coughing fit?
Yeah, a little bit of something going on in there. But yeah, I mean, it's in terms of your starting quarterback. you have to give him every chance that you possibly can to play. And maybe the injury wasn't as severe as we had thought. I mean, you kind of alluded to it a couple of minutes ago when Matt LaFleur was talking about the gamesmanship from last week, and whether it's gamesmanship or not, it's just a matter of trying to put your team in the best possible chance to win, give them the best opportunity to win. And I think that with what you're seeing with the way that the coaching staff and the training staff has handled the quarterbacks, I think that they're doing that right now. Jordan Love looked good today when we saw some of the limited video that we were able to see of Jordan, but that's a far cry from the ability to go out and play an NFL football game. And one of the things that Matt LaFleur has been pretty consistent in saying is that he's got to have the opportunity to defend himself and to protect himself while he's out there. And just going through some non-contact drills. I mean, not that the quarterback has ever hit in practice or anything like that, but to simulate game activity as much as possible, as much as you can during an in-season practice. I mean, there's still got to be some evaluations that go on. So I would imagine that he's probably going to be questionable, perhaps right up and through Saturday, unlike last week Saturday when he was listed as doubtful. I guess time will tell on that, but just seeing him out on the practice field, I think has to give everybody at least a good feeling that if he can't play this week, maybe that injury isn't going to linger as long as otherwise perhaps it could have, or maybe a lot of people thought that it would have.
Yeah, I fully expect Jordan Love to be listed as questionable again, but this time probably not be downgraded to doubtful on Saturday. They'll probably take it right up until game time, whether they know or not, if he's going to play. He's not the only injury. Packers had a lengthy injury report today. Let's go through it. You ready?
Let's do it.
You're sitting down. Kenny Clark, toe, limited. Kingsley Enagbare, groin, limited. Josh Jacobs, back, limited. Although Matt LaFleur said that's nothing to worry about. He should be good to go on Sunday. Elton Jenkins, illness/glute, DNP. Tucker Kraft, shoulder, limited. Jordan Love, knee, limited. Jordan Morgan, shoulder, DNP. Josh Myers, ankle, limited. Aiden Reed, calf, DNP. So the shin's not on there anymore. Zach Tom, quad, limited. Carrington Valentine, ankle, DNP. Rasheed Walker, shoulder, limited. For the Titans, there were three guys: Jeffrey Simmons, L'Jarius Sneed, vet rest, and Tajay Spears, ankle, DNP. So you can tell which team is healthier right now, although Matt LaFleur did say today there was some wear and tear, referring to after the game. Obviously, when you look at the injury list, that represents that as well. So there were a couple guys who were DNP, but for the most part, it just seems like it's your traditional wear and tear. And it's week 3. That's not the best thing since it's not too deep into the season yet, but we'll see as we get later into the week if some of these guys are still limited DNPs or if this is really just, maintenance already at this point in the season and they're just saving them for Sunday.
Don't you think it's a little early for maintenance? Or maybe not. I don't know. I mean, these guys have been going at it for, you talk about training camp and then, they didn't really play in the preseason much, but if there's already maintenance, going into week 3, I don't know. I mean, is that problematic in your opinion?
I wouldn't say it's problematic. I think it's just part of managing the load of the season, and I wonder, I'd be interested to ask Matt LaFleur this. I wasn't in on his press conference today, but if they're managing these guys differently earlier in the season with the new strength stuff, I'd have to look back at patterns from seasons of years past, but are they being more conservative, Matt LaFleur's favorite word, with guys earlier in the season to prevent these injuries later in the season, or I should say for significant injuries later in the season that will actually cause guys to miss game time, and sacrificing, a Wednesday and or a Thursday practice? I don't know what kind of feedback, the coaching staff is getting from the medical staff, the training staff. Obviously, it's the same medical staff. Nate and Flea have been here forever, but I wonder if the training staff is implementing some new strategies as far as resting guys early in the week, but as long as they're healthy on game day, I think these guys have enough reps in this defense, offense built up that they should be fine. And at least if they get, a day and a half of practice, I think that's more than enough at most, a day and a half. They could probably even go with less. But If they're good by Sunday, I think the Packers have a decent shot to win this game. Yesterday, I already made my prediction on Brick and the Stick with John Kuhn earlier. I said 24-17 Packers. That was with Malik Willis starting. I'd probably go, I don't know, 31-20 if probably not 31. I'd probably go 27-17, 30-17 if Jordan Love's playing. Titans have a good defense. They have a stingy defense. But Will Levis loves giving the ball away, and
It's very kind
his
of him.
offensive line isn't very good. So that's an area where the Packers defense can really take advantage.
Yeah, I mean, having the young quarterback, I'm in Levis, you're putting a lot on his shoulders, and that's just the nature of the game in the NFL nowadays. And I always wonder whether or not he would have been better served. I know that Ryan Tannehill was there last year, but it's just one of those things that I always wonder about with backup quarterbacks and how much you can learn from a veteran and how much a veteran wants to teach a young quarterback. But as far as their defense, yeah, the Packers showed that they can take advantage of the opportunities that are given them. I mean, I would expect no matter whether it's Malik Willis under center or Jordan Love, you probably see, I don't know that he's going to get another 32 carries, but you'll probably see another heavy dose of Josh Jacobs, I would imagine, this week. One of the things that I'm curious about is Christian Watson. I know I keep talking about him, but I saw him in the starting lineup, and then I think he climbed on a milk carton last week. What is the status of Christian Watson? Because he didn't get a single target last week. And I know that Malik Willis only threw the ball 14 times, but I didn't even notice Christian Watson out there most of the game.
Yeah, I don't think, especially considering last week's game plan, when you run the ball 53 times or whatever they did, that wide receiver targets or lack thereof are any concern. I wouldn't say, he was necessarily on a milk carton. He played 41 snaps, which was 59% of the snaps, so they still valued him, obviously, as a blocker. And he had one really key block. I think it was on a Jaden Reed run early? It was him and Tucker Kraft that I noticed the 2 blocks on the play. But, in the passing game, you obviously didn't see him get any targets, and especially when there's such a small sample size, I don't think it matters. Now, if the Packers throw the ball 40 times with Jordan Love on Sunday and Christian Watson gets 1 target or still doesn't get any targets, then maybe we can have a discussion about an early slide. But then again, we've talked so much this preseason and regular season about it can be a different guy any day in this receiver room. So it just hasn't been Christian Watson's day yet. And he caught a touchdown in week 1. It's not like, he's been completely absent. He was targeted 5 times in that game, which was 3rd most among receivers. Dobbs had 7, Reed had 6, Watson had 5. And Watson had 3 catches for 13 yards and a touchdown. So it's not like he's been completely absent. I think last week was a complete outlier. One of these games, Christian Watson's going to have 8 targets, 6 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown or 2. And then we're just going to go back to saying, oh, okay, it just wasn't his turn yet. I mean, we've been talking all along about maybe one guy stands out every day. And I think that's just progression we're seeing right now.
Okay. It's, the way that we've been talking about, do the Packers need a number 1? And I think the consensus between you and I is that they don't, because it could be, like you said, a different guy every week. Jaden Reed seems to be maybe creating a little bit of separation, because there was that question about who's it going to be, could it be Watson? Could it be Reed? Could it be Dobbs? And, Jaden Reed, even last year, kind of showed flashes that if there was going to be a number 1 receiver, maybe it could be him. Now, I know that there's a great connection that Romeo Dobbs has with Jordan Love. We've talked about, the fact that they get together in the offseason, and I think all of that's great. I think that building chemistry with your receivers is so paramount and so important to what quarterbacks are able to do, and just being, in the same area, to have off-season proximity to some of these guys. Maybe there's something to that, but man, I tell you what, Jaden Reed is just looking like a special talent. And I know the Packers have hit on 2nd-round wide receivers, with guys like Devontae Adams, guys like Jordy Nelson. Greg Jennings was a 2nd-round pick. Maybe they found another one in Jaden Reed. Maybe he's the guy that they just kind of found in the 2nd round that other teams passed on. Maybe it was because of size. I don't know, but he's looking like he's in the early stages, at least to me, of becoming an NFL star.
Yeah, I really do think so. Right now, he seems like the I don't wanna say the best overall receiver, but the most dangerous overall offensive weapon. I asked Ben Simmons today, jokingly, if he's campaigning for Jayden Reed to come to the running back permanently, and Sermon's got a good laugh out of that. He's, "No, no, no, he would never do that with, the confidence he has in his traditional running back," but it just goes to show the number of ways they can use Jayden Reed, and, there are some special ways, and I think they're gonna continue to do that. Let's get to another break here on the Wednesday edition of the Matt Schneidman Show, the day on which Jordan Love returned to practice. Now, when he went down with his knee injury, I don't think many people, if any, thought he would return to practice in 12 days. But here he is, gonna play Sunday. We don't know. We'll talk that and much more. The Cheetah experience. What's that? I'll explain after the break, right here on the Matt Schneidman Show on the Game. I can't hear you through my headphones, only if I turn the volume. I can only hear you through the StreamYard. 2 small logoed long sleeve t-shirts, you'll get a third for free. That's a $44.99 item free when you buy 2. Just enter the promo code FALLBOGO at checkout. That's FALLBOGO at checkout. Good toward both men's and women's tees. Go to ironjock.com for details. That's ironjoc.com. Now I want to talk about something called the Cheetah effect, I believe is what running backs coach Ben Sermons called it today when discussing Josh Jacobs. And let me explain. I might just read the quote instead of trying to explain it myself. It's not complicated, but I'll just read the quote. The topic of discussion was maybe how Josh Jacobs' rushing style can lead to the ball being more susceptible. And this is obviously coming off a game in which Josh Jacobs fumbled at the goal line, costing the Packers 6 or 7 points. And Ben Sermons said this. I call it the cheetah effect because when a cheetah is running full speed and makes all sorts of turns, it uses its tail to try to stay in balance. A lot of times when you're running like that, naturally making all these cuts, your arm and everything goes away from your body because you're trying to stay in balance. So I think that's part of it with him because he makes such precise, drastic cuts that him swinging his arms around kind of allows him to stay in balance and be sharper with his cuts. Now, part of the training is going to be him being able to do those things, but making sure he's squeezing the ball, keeping his wrist up, all tight to his body and all those things. The cheetah effect, Doug.
I like it. The cheetah effect. It makes sense. It makes I've never heard that before. But yeah, that I like that. It's it gives it a name, right? And I think we're going to maybe we'll be looking for that as time goes on. It's because when you think of the cheetah, I mean, it's the fastest land animal. It's the the way that it gets from point A to point B. Yeah, I like that. It's a good way of putting it. Thank you, Ben.
Josh Jacobs has to make sure he doesn't fumble though, because
right. He was able to laugh about that after the game, which, he's like, yeah, that's on me. I'm sorry about that. But a win cures everything. But yeah, he's got to hang on to the football.
He's in year 6, and the fact that, Ben Sermons is still saying the style of which he runs is susceptible to losing the ball. Like, you probably got to fix it. And Ben Sermons did say today that he had kind of a briefing on Josh Jacobs before he came to Green Bay because of Edgar Bennett, who was in with the Raiders, I should say. I always say in Oakland/Las Vegas. I actually covered Edgar when he was the Raiders wide receivers coach. Is he still the Raiders wide receivers coach?
I don't know.
I think so.
Okay.
Doing a quick Google search here. Yeah, still the Raiders wide receivers coach.
Okay.
And he kind of briefed Ben Sermons on what he'd be getting in Josh Jacobs, which is obviously a bell cow back, one of the best running backs in the league, but you got to hold on to the ball or else nothing else matters.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's the one thing that drives coaches more crazy than anything else is putting the ball on the ground. And, you can be the best running back in the world, but if you can't hang on to the football, like you said, literally nothing else matters. It's the most important thing. It's like a wide receiver. You got to catch the ball. You can run the greatest route in the world, but if you keep dropping the ball, you're no good to the team. Yeah, it's such a field flipper too, because, that was when you're knocking on the door and you figure that, you're going to, go up another score, in this case on the Colts, and then you fumble it in the end zone. It's like, it's just so deflating. And fortunately, the Packers were able to, regroup, sustain, and, not lose the ball game. They dominated for 3.5 quarters against the Colts. But yeah, that really puts you behind the 8 ball. There's nothing more important to a running back, to a kick returner, to a punt returner. I mean, that's how Amari Rodgers fell out of favor, just couldn't hang on the football. Could he be elusive? I don't know. Never had the football enough to be elusive. He just kept dropping it. And that's why he's now, I think, playing in the UFL as opposed to being the 3rd round pick of the Green Bay Packers. And then got picked up by the Texans and didn't last there either. So, yeah, I mean, ball security is everything. It's everything in the NFL. They talk, the number one thing that coaches talk about, whether or not you win or lose, and statistics will bear this out, is what's your turnover margin. If you keep giving the other team opportunities, especially when it's deep in your own territory, I mean, you're just shooting yourself in the foot over and over and over again. So, yeah, it's something that It's got to be using old Mike McCarthyism. Yeah, got to clean that up. But it's the most critical thing that you can possibly do as a football player is hang on to the football.
Yeah, ball security is job security. That's what it comes down to,
Yeah.
and I'm sure Josh Jacobs will get it figured out. They need him to. I forget who said it, but someone said to Ben Simmons today, "Well, Josh isn't gonna carry the ball 30 plus times again," and Ben Simmons is like, "Who knows? Even if Jordan Love plays, the game plan might dictate that." Now, I highly doubt Josh Jacobs would carry the ball 30 times if Jordan Love is playing quarterback, obviously, because the Packers would be more comfortable throwing it, but you just never know. And I think Josh Jacobs, as I said, was limited in practice today with pull up the injury report real quick, back injury.
Okay.
And Matt LaFleur did say it's nothing to worry about. He should be good to go on Sunday. I think, like I said, just maintenance. And if there's anyone who deserves a maintenance-ish day, it's Josh Jacobs after carrying the ball 32 times. Now he would obviously like to have a touchdown to go on along with those 32 carries for 151 yards. He would hope it's 32 for 153 and a touchdown, but it wasn't. Packers got out of there with a win. I still am up in the air about who starts at quarterback this Sunday. Doug, if it's 50-50, let's say, and they don't like putting percentages on things, and I get that because when you put percentages on things, that sets expectations, and, sometimes expectations don't get met. So they're just gonna, however cliche it is, take it day by day, let the week play out. But if it's, let's say, hypothetically 50-50 going into the game of whether they want to play Jordan Love or not, I think they sit him. I don't know what percentage they have to get to, but they have to get to a point where Jordan Love is comfortable protecting himself, where they think he can protect himself. That's the terminology Matt LaFleur has used, is Jordan needs to be able to protect himself. I asked Jordan, um, how do you know if you can protect yourself if you aren't facing live bullets? And here's what he said. He said, "I mean, that just comes down to the workouts and the things I do on the side when I'm not there practicing with the trainers and trying to push myself, whether it's reacting to pressure in a game or just being in the pocket, being able to take hits. Just reacting and pushing myself in those workouts when I'm by myself." And he said, "But at the same time, there's just nothing like when it's live bullets. You're in the game and that rush is real, so there's a lot of things I might not experience before I get back in the game." And that's the fact of the matter of the situation. Jordan Love won't know what it's like to get hit, won't know what it's like to, really, really move around on that knee with a pass rush coming until he gets in a game, and that's just, the nature of the business. Now, I asked Jordan Love what boxes he needs to check off, in order to be able to play on Sunday. I believe we have some audio of that. Here's what he said. Yeah, nobody's giving away any secrets. I get that, but, I think the Packers win this game either way. Now, I would not be surprised in the slightest. Nothing surprises me in this league anymore. I kinda liken it to, um, when they played the Giants last year and they were on that hot streak after beating the Chiefs and the, Lions. They lose to the Buccaneers, but then they go to the Giants, and you're like, "Alright, they're gonna win this game." Or actually, no, it was the Giants and then the Buccaneers. So they go to New Jersey, and it's like, "Oh, they're gonna beat this," but they didn't. So, never take anyone.
No, you can't. And I don't anticipate. You know what I'm curious about is whether or not somebody is going to leak whether or not Jordan Love is playing before Sunday. Probably not. The Packers run a pretty tight ship. And, sometimes things get said when they're not supposed to be said. And I'm just curious as to, when somebody says, "Yeah, no. I mean, he'll be out there. He'll be playing. He's been getting all the one reps, uh, you know, for most of the week, but so far everybody's been pretty tight-lipped. But I kind of agree with you from the standpoint that it's got to be more than 50-50. I think he's got to be. I don't know what the threshold is. Is it 75%? Is it 80%? I don't know if you can put a percentage on that. I think it's just going to be okay. So it seems like he's been medically cleared, obviously, to practice because he practiced today, but practicing, with a red jersey on, and playing in an NFL football game are two wildly different things. So I would, if I had to, if I had to put a percentage on it right now, I would probably, if I'm a betting man, say that Malik Willis is probably still going to start on Sunday. But we've been surprised before. I mean, I brought up Giannis Antetokounmpo earlier. Nobody thought that he was going to be able to play in the NBA Finals. Should the Bucks get to the NBA Finals 3 years ago, and lo and behold, he was able to do that. Not only do that, but also win Finals MVP, dropping a 50 burger in Game 6 to let the Bucks win it all when his knee was bent the other way just 10 days earlier. So these guys, number one, you have to understand that when you compare them to everybody else, are superhuman, which is, again, why when you have all those Twitter doctors that are out there diagnosing things when they have if it's a CPA diagnosing an ACL, I'm probably not going to take your thoughts on it all that seriously. But they also have the best training staff in the world. They have the best medical equipment available to them. This is their profession, so they do it 24/7. And that's why they're able to get out there a lot sooner than you would otherwise think with an injury of that magnitude. So I've been surprised before, but if I had to handicap it right now, I still kind of think that Malik Willis is going to start, and unless something changes in the next couple of days, which it might.
Yeah, that's just a hunch I have too, but I am not going to sit here and say, oh, I have evidence that points to Malik Willis starting. It's just like a gut feel. Jordan Love could very well be healthy enough to play by Sunday. It's possible. I would not put that past him, even though, the national reports of his return were estimated at first 3 to 6 weeks. Then Diana Rossini for us at The Athletic says week 4 is probably likely, but there's a possibility Jordan Love plays on Sunday, and that would give the Packers obviously a huge boost. Although they're able to, devise a game plan for anybody, as they've proven. And I think it's funny, it took Malik Willis starting at quarterback for the Packers for people to appreciate Matt LaFleur as a head coach. I think he obviously proved his worth with Jordan Love at quarterback. Nobody was ever going to give him credit with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback because everyone just thinks, oh, it's easy to, be an offensive head coach and offensive play caller if you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Then with Jordan Love, it's okay, LaFleur did more, but Jordan Love's still a big part of it. Now with Malik Willis, it's like, oh, it's all LaFleur. When in reality, collaboration in every respect. It's just, yes, it is a little more telling about LaFleur's acumen and his, prowess as a head coach, I think I can say. If you have a quarterback of lesser quality and you're still able to make things happen. But at each stop, whether it's Rodgers, Love, or LaFleur, it's a collaboration. And at the end of the day, this view of, oh, a head coach is great because he did this. It's all an outside perception. It's not really the fact of the matter, what's going on behind closed doors. Matt LaFleur is still a great head coach when Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback. That's just not like the view of him on Twitter because, the optics of Matt LaFleur coaching an Aaron Rodgers team don't match up to the optics of Matt LaFleur coaching a Malik Willis team well. So,
I mean, here's
maybe he's obviously grown as a head coach, but I think it's just magnified more when you have a backup quarterback in.
What more? And I think I know the answer. You need a pelt on the wall. You need a trophy. You need to, hoist the Lombardi. You need to hang the banner. Aside from that, if there's a Matt LaFleur critic out there, what are you picking on?
Game management.
I mean,
sometimes.
Okay, maybe, but that makes him human. That makes him, a coach. No coach is perfect at that aspect of it. Some are obviously better than others, and I think that's what separates some coaches from others. There's a big separation between the Bill Belichicks and the Rich Kotites of the world, for example. But what he did when he came in was able to take a Packers team and a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers that had for him a couple of down years. The relationship with Mike McCarthy had run its course, and everybody understands that it was time to turn the page. And Aaron Rodgers was already playing with a gold jacket by the time that Matt LaFleur arrived in Green Bay. But what Matt LaFleur did, and Aaron Rodgers would give him credit for this, is that he helped him become not just a 2-time MVP, but a 4-time MVP. They won 13 games 3 years in a row. Again, we're talking about pelts on the wall, and the expectations in Green Bay are different than they are in most places. And I get that. And I like having that bar raised as high as you can raise it. And anything less than that, you're somewhat disappointed in. But that's the only thing really that you can kind of pick on and say, all right, that's why he's not a great coach. You look if it took the Malik Willis game against the Colts last week Sunday for fans to recognize that Matt LaFleur knows what he's doing as an offensive play caller, knows what he's doing as a guy who coaches up other men. If that's what it took, I don't know where you've been for the last 5.5 years. Honestly, I don't know what else it would take. The knock on Matt LaFleur. Well, he had a Hall of Fame quarterback in Jordan Love. Yes, and he helped him win
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. Helped turn him from a 2-time MVP to a 4-time MVP. All right, let's see what he does without Rodgers. Okay. Predictably, the Packers struggled a little bit offensively last year in the first half of the season when Jordan Love took over and after the trade, to the Jets for Aaron Rodgers. And then in the second half of the season, picking it up faster than I thought he would, he went on and had this incredible second half run that was as good as any other quarterback or any other player for that matter in the NFL. And if there's still people that are picking on Matt LaFleur after that, it's like anything less than that Lombardi trophy, you're going to think that he sucks as a coach. And I just can't get behind that train of thought.
No, but I think there's something that separates really good coaches from great coaches. And I think right now, Matt LaFleur has proven to be a really good coach. This is obviously just all an arbitrary ranking system, quote unquote, but to be a great coach, you got to win a Super Bowl. Is Kyle Shanahan a great coach? He's lost what? 3 Super Bowls now?
Well, he's gotten there. I mean, there's Marv Levy's in the Hall of Fame, and he lost 4 in a row. I mean, it's hard to get there.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's the Hall of really good. But if you want to be, again, you might think a great coach is a coach that doesn't need to win a Super Bowl. But if you want to reach that upper echelon, you got to win one.
I don't think
this year. Who knows?
As I've said, if everyone is healthy, I've said it a million times. I think the Packers are as good as anybody in the NFC, and I truly believe that. But also part of that is because I believe that they're a well-coached team as part of that. And the Packers have had some coaches. I mean, some have been better than others. I've been fortunate to cover some really good coaches. Mike Holmgren he's not in the Hall of Fame. I think that he should be in the Hall of Fame. Ray Rhodes was not a great head coach, even though when he was with the Eagles, he won a Coach of the Year award, but he wasn't a disciplined coach for the players that the Packers had at the time. Mike Sherman, I thought, was a pretty good coach, not a great coach, but a pretty good coach. I thought he was a terrible general manager, like a world-class, awful general manager. And Mike Sherman, the general manager, hamstrung Mike Sherman, the coach. And then Mike McCarthy was brought in, and he had some success, obviously won a Super Bowl. Is Mike McCarthy a great coach? I mean, he's had success, but is he a great coach? Well, he's got that championship trophy, but who would Packers fans probably rather have right now? Would they rather have Mike McCarthy? Would they rather have Matt LaFleur? I think most Packers fans would probably, despite the fact that Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl, would probably rather have Matt LaFleur.
Oh, without a doubt. Again, this is all arbitrary. You can, everyone's going to have a different definition of great or good coach or a really good coach. And the bottom line is Matt LaFleur is the right coach for the Packers right now. And to some people who maybe didn't believe that, or I shouldn't say didn't believe he was the right coach for the Packers, but for some people who maybe didn't believe he was in that upper echelon, he proved it for a week probably. I believe he came in second Coach of the Year voting, like Vrabel a couple of years ago. And that was with Aaron Rodgers as quarterback, as a starting quarterback. So that's impressive enough. I think Matt LaFleur came in ninth in Coach of the Year voting last year. If the Packers had won a couple more regular season games, I think he finishes higher. Again, Coach of the Year, part of the reason Vrabel won it is because in that year, it might have been 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe, I forget which exactly it was, but he had like 100% of his team injured. Obviously, exaggeration, but I mean, a lot of times it's coaches who make more out of this. And it's not always going to be an Andy Reid or a Kyle Shanahan or coaches that are consistently at the top. It's going to be a coach who loses half of his roster during the season and still makes the playoffs. So, if Jordan Love is healthy for the rest of the season, Matt LaFleur might not win it because, you had your starting quarterback for all but one game. So, in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. all that matters is if you win a ring. And if the Packers do that, then nobody else gives a damn about, how many players you got hurt or how many coach of the years you have. All they care about is if you won a ring. And I'm sure Matt LaFleur understands.
I know. I mean, and like I said, expectations in Green Bay are different than they are in most places. Expectations are high, and I know they are, or they had been. They probably aren't right now in New England, but after you have a run of success, the bar is raised, and I think that's okay. The bar is raised. I mean, there are questions. There shouldn't be because Mike Tomlin's a Hall of Fame coach, but there are questions about the last several seasons that have been pretty mid with the Steelers. But Mike Tomlin has a couple of rings. He's gone to 3 Super Bowls, and he's accomplished a lot in his NFL career. So, yeah, I mean, the way we judge coaches, I think, and quarterbacks, it's kind of harsh, but I guess that's kind of the nature of the beast, right?
Without a doubt. That's it for today's Match Diamond Show, Wednesday, September 18th. I will be back tomorrow on the Football Feast with Drew and Billy and Kippy and Hunter. I don't know if there's any other guests. I don't know where it is. I have to check. Doug gets the night off tomorrow. I'm sure after today's fiasco, he wouldn't mind that. But we'll be back on Friday with the Match Diamond Show with whatever news comes out of 1265 Lombardi. We appreciate everyone for listening, and we'll talk to you then.